Patim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita ki jai. So studying from Sri Prabhupada Lilamrita, a very nice saintly person. We continue with our discussion. After his first meeting with Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Abhay began to associate more with the Gaudiya Math devotees. They gave him books and told him the history of their spiritual master. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was one of the 10 children born to Bhakti Vinod Thakur, a great Vaishnava teacher in the disciplic line from Lord Chaitanya himself. Before the time of Bhakti Vinod, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya had been obscured by teachers and sects falsely claiming to be followers of Lord Chaitanya, but deviating in various drastic ways from his pure teachings. The good reputation of Vaishnavism had been compromised. Bhakti Vinod Thakur, however, through his prolific writings and through his social position as a high government officer, re-established the respectability of Vaishnavism. He preached that the teachings of Lord Chaitanya were the highest form of theism and were intended not for a particular sect or religion or nation, but for the people of the world. He prophesied that Lord Chaitanya's teachings would go worldwide, and he yearned for it. A subnote: the religion preached by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is universal and not exclusive. The principle of Kirtan as a future church for the world invites all classes of men without distinction of caste or clan to the highest cultivation of the spirit. Excuse me. This church, it appears, will extend all over the world and take the place of all sectarian churches which exclude outsiders from the precincts of the mosque, church or temple. Lord Chaitanya did not advent himself to liberate only a few men of India. Rather, his main objective was to emancipate all living entities of all countries throughout the entire universe and preach the eternal religion. Lord Chaitanya says in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, "In every town, country and village, my name will be sung." There is no doubt that this unquestionable order will come to pass. Although there is still no pure society of Vaishnavas to be had, yet Lord Chaitanya's prophetic words will in a few days come true, I am sure. Why not? Nothing is absolutely pure in the beginning. From imperfection, purity will come about. Oh, for that day when the fortunate English, French, Russian, German and American people will take up banners, mridangas and kartals and raise kirtan through their streets and towns. When will the day come? As a prominent magistrate, Bhakti Vinod Thakur was a responsible government officer. He served also as superintendent of the temple of Lord Jagannath and was the father of 10 children Yet, in spite of these responsibilities, he served the cause of Krishna with prodigious energy. After coming home from his office in the evening, taking his meals and going to bed, he would sleep from 8 until midnight and then get up and write until morning. He wrote more than 100 books during his life, many of them in English. One of his important contributions was the cooperation of Jagannath Das Babaji and Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, was to locate the exact birthplace of Lord Chaitanya in Mayapur, about 60 miles north of Calcutta. It's a long chapter. I think we should finish here. Tomorrow we'll continue further. Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Okay, so today's discussion, we are continuing with Brahma satisfies Lord Shiva. We have verse number 37. If you can repeat after me, please. Upavishtam darbhamayam brushyam brahma sanatanam naradaya pravochantam pruchhate Shrunavatam satam upavishtam darbhamayam brushyam brahma sanatanam naradaya pravochantam pruchhate shrunavatam satam upavishtam darbhamayam brusyam brahma sanatanam naradaya pravochantam pruchhate shrunavatam satam upavishtam darbhamayam Brushyam Brahma Sanatanam Naradaya Pravochantam Pruchhate Shrunavatam Satam. Word to word synonyms, translations and purports by Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. If you can repeat after me, please. Upavishtam, seated. Darbhamayam, made of darbha, that is straw. Brushyam, on a mattress. Brahma, the absolute truth. Sanatanam, the eternal. Naradaya, unto Narad. Pravochantam, speaking. Pruchhate, asking. Shrunavatam, listening. Satam, of the great sages. So seated, made of darbha, straw. This is very significant. Upavishtam, darbhamayam. Seated, made of darbha or straw, on a mattress. The absolute truth, the eternal, unto Narad, speaking, asking, listening of the great sages. Translation. He was seated on a straw mattress and speaking to all present, including the great sage Narad, to whom he specifically spoke about the absolute truth. Purport. The Lord was sitting on a mattress of straw because such a sitting place is accepted by persons who are practicing austerities to gain understanding of the absolute truth. In this verse, it is specifically mentioned that he was speaking to the great sage Narad, a celebrated devotee. Narad was asking Lord Shiva about devotional service, and Shiva, being the topmost Vaishnava, was instructing him. In other words, Lord Shiva and Narad were discussing the knowledge of the Veda. But it is to be understood that the subject matter was devotional service. Another point in this connection is that Lord Shiva is the supreme instructor and the great sage Narad is the supreme audience. Therefore, the subject matter of Vedic knowledge is bhakti or devotional service. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So as we've done the prayers already, let's come to the discussion. The translation again. He, that is Lord Shiva, was seated on a straw mattress and speaking to all present, including the great sage Narad, to whom he specifically spoke about the absolute truth. So here, as the demigods along with Lord Brahma, when they visited and approached Lord Shiva in his abode, Mount Kailas, they saw a very beautiful atmosphere in Kailas. It is mentioned in the purport that Srila Prabhupada states that this Kailas is nearly as good as Golok Vrindavan. So the position of Lord Shiva is very powerful. As we understand, there are three different categories of Lord Shiva. One appearing in Vaikuntha planet, second is in Mount Kailash, is Shankar Shambhu, which is here, and third is the Shiva as we know. So, here they saw a big banyan tree, 80,800 miles top and 600 wide. It was yojanas actually, yojanas. And they noticed that there were no birds in the tree, sitting on the tree, no nests. Normally, as Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, normally we see birds making their nests on trees. And they make some noises in the morning and the evening. Morning when they wake up, they make noise, talk to each other, and they fly away for the day. They roam about, get their food, everything. Evening when they come back to go to sleep, back in the nest, they again chirp. So there were no birds. It was very quiet under the banyan tree. And the reason for that is that under the banyan tree, many great sages and Lord Shiva would sit and meditate. So not to disturb their meditation, the birds would not come. How beautiful. So, in that atmosphere, they saw Lord Shiva meditating. In the next verse, it is mentioned how he was sitting, with his left leg on his right thigh, and his left hand, and his right hand on the thigh, and chanting. And he was with Rudraksha beads, he was chanting, and he was in a posture with the finger up, making an argument. So, here, when the demigods saw that Lord Shiva is sitting there meditating, there are so many sages, including the four Kumaras, Narad Muni, Kubera, etc. in audience. And it is specifically mentioned. See how beautiful Bhagavatam talks about. It's like zooming in. It zooms in and says that Lord Shiva were specifically talking to Narad Muni. This is the point here. Sitting on a straw mattress. So two things are very important in this verse. First is that Lord Shiva sat on a mattress made up of straw, and second, Lord Shiva was speaking to Narad Muni specifically about the Vedas, and Prabhupada clarifies means devotional service. Vedas means devotional service. So we'll discuss on these 2 points today. Meditate upon that. So, first is, it is very, very interesting and very instructive that although Lord Shiva, the owner of Mount Kailash, which is so opulent, so prosperous, still preferred to sit under a banyan tree on a straw mattress and smeared ashes on his body, including his hair. He looked very beautiful. It's like evening cloud. He did not sleep or sit on a big palace, on his lazy boy, or whatever it is, He was sitting out, performing austerities and meditation, thinking about Krishna all the time. So, this is something instructive, that Krishna may sometimes give a devotee all opulences, all facilities, but a devotee should understand that these facilities are provided so that the devotee can perform his bhakti. Not that we buy a straw mattress and sit on a straw mattress outside the house, nothing like that. But even inside the house, we may sit on our sofa or whatever it is. Or lazy boy, it's all right. But somehow or other, our activities should be such that we are constantly meditating upon Krishna. There is an example of this given. When Prahlad Maharaj, it is in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto. When Prahlad Maharaj, after Lord Nrsimhadev appeared and Lord Nrsimhadev killed Hiranyakashipu, Prahlad Maharaj were installed as the king in the lower planets. And once Prahlad Maharaj, along with his personal associates, confidential associates mentioned, confidential associates and bodyguards, were traveling around the whole world trying to see and find out a very sincere and pure devotee of Krishna. Just see, there is only interest for pure devotee. So, while traveling in this way, Prahlad Maharaj, in the south of India, came across a person he saw who was quite stout, actually, and he was sleeping on the floor, on the ground. He could not even move, but he was quite stout. You see, just an example of this. So, Prahlad Maharaj asked the question to him, "Sir," because he observed everything. This person is stout, means, well, devotee is generally not stout. Saying, but, the but was there. The activities that he was performing and how he was living showed devotional service. So he understood very clearly. And he folded his hands and asked the question, "My dear sir, you seem like a devotee. You are performing austerities, but you look stout, which is non-devotee-like. How is it? Can you please explain to me?" Because generally devotees are not very stout, Devotees are stout too, so excuse me, but, So he explained that I'm like an Ajgar, python. I just sit in one place. There is no point for me to do an activity because everything is performed by Krishna. I think about my Lord all the time. People come to me, they give me something to eat and I eat. They don't give me to eat, I don't eat. But there is no point to perform actions, activities. Whatever is going to come on its natural course is going to come. This is very austere. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that person is a devotee who does not over-endeavor. He just accepts what is coming in the natural course of one's life. This is very heavy. And this particular devotee, that person was performing that. And Prahlad Maharaj could see it. Others could not see it. He could see it. And then there was this instruction. He asked for instructions from this particular devotee, and he gave instruction to us, all of us. It's a very beautiful discussion. One should meditate upon it. It's a very, very lateral discussion, very lateral thinking. So, here, Lord Shiva sat on a straw mattress, and performed austerities, and he was talking. Lord Shiva was talking to all the sages, and specifically to Narad Muni. Now, this is the second point of our discussion. And they were speaking about the absolute truth that is mentioned in the translation. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that Lord Shiva and Narad were discussing the knowledge of the Veda. But comes. It is to be understood that the subject matter was devotional service. Now, for us, we may just read it just like that. Okay, subject matter is devotional service, and finish it off. Next verse. Now, Prabhupada again emphasizes in the last sentence of the purport. Therefore, the supreme subject matter of Vedic knowledge is bhakti or devotional service. So Prabhupada again says, they were discussing about the absolute truth. His translation mentions this. Prabhupada says that absolute truth means the Vedas, and Vedas means bhakti. And at the end, Prabhupada says that the supreme subject matter of Vedic knowledge is bhakti or devotional service. Now, for our own self, we must try and think, why did Prabhupada say this? Where is it proved? It's in a way Prabhupada are instructing, and for us to take it as a challenge to find out, where does it say? That absolute truth means Vedas only, and they were discussing absolute truth. That's what mentioned in the Bhagavatam. Prabhupada says means, Vedas means only devotional service. So, in this research, this is how I understood. In this research, I came across a very beautiful book which is not yet published. It's still under process of Prabhupada translating on Narad Bhakti Sutras, codes of bhakti. These codes are written in less than one sentence each. There were 3 of them published so far in Back to Godhead in June of 2021. And just 3, each of these 3 codes each of them were this much, less than one sentence. And Prabhupada gives 2 pages of purports for each of them. It is so intense. So everything is saturated by Narad Muni in these codes. From there I found some links, and in Bhagavad Gita some references are given. So first thing to understand is that both Lord Shiva and Narad Muni were at the Brahma Bhuta stage, much beyond that. Because to understand bhakti, one has to understand, at least one has to come to the Brahma Bhuta stage. That's the lowest stage. What is Brahma Bhuta stage? That is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, the last chapter. It is verse number 54. Says, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samaha sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param. Just see here. It says that one who is thus transcendentally situated, so means what? One who has transcended the modes of material nature already. Okay? So one who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. Not till the time. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. So, these references came from the first code of that Narad Bhakti Sutras. So here it is said that one who is already liberated, who is in the transcendental position, already achieved that position, he realizes the Supreme Brahman at once. Till the time we may have some abhas, Krishna reveals according to our surrender, level of surrender. But unless and until we have reached that position, only then we can be fully joyful. At that state, he never laments, no lamentation, and no desires, no desiring to have anything. It comes on its own accord. He accepts that position. Second thing is that he is equally disposed to all living entities. Equally disposed. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. I mean, Krishna says at this stage, pure devotional service can be attained unto him. So this stage we have to achieve, Brahma-bhuta stage. So, here to understand what is the discussion going on between Lord Shiva and Narad Muni, we have to understand that these are the discussions of liberated personalities. They are extremely liberated personalities. For us even to fathom what's going on there. Only a liberated person can understand what liberated people are talking. Now, let us come to this point about absolute truth means Vedas, Vedas means Bhakti. In the 15th chapter, 15th verse, Lord Krishna says, Sarvasya chaham rudhi sannivishto matah smritirgnanam apohanam cha vedescha sarve rahameva vedyo vedanta krudveda videva chaham. So Lord Krishna says here, Sarvasya chaham rudhi sannivishto, I am seated in everyone's heart. Matah smritirgnanam apohanam cha, from me comes remembrance and forgetfulness. Vedescha sarve rahameva vedyo, from all the Vedas I am to be known. Here, underline this. Vedanta krudveda videva chaham, and I am the compiler of Vedanta. So from all the Vedas I am to be known. So their talk, which they are speaking about absolute truth, Srila Prabhupada says, the absolute truth is they are discussing the Vedas. So that is how it is answered. This Vedas, and Vedas means what Krishna says, I am to be understood from the Vedas. And I am the compiler of Vedas in the Vedanta. Okay. So this answers the question that absolute truth means Vedas, Vedas means Krishna. Now, how come Vedas means Bhakti? The second point. Let us see that point. That is discussed in the next verse in the 18th chapter, 1855. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato gnatva vishate tad anantaram. So Lord Krishna says, one can understand me as I am, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Here it is. So we saw that Vedas means Krishna. The purpose of the Vedas is to find Krishna. And here in this verse, Krishna is saying that one can understand me. Purpose of the Vedas is to understand Krishna. And here he is saying that one can understand me as I am, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So here's a link. That Vedas means Krishna, and Krishna can be understood. You may read the Vedas, all right. You may understand about the absolute truth, all right. But he is to be completely understood as he is, as a person, with his emotions, with his activities, paraphernalia, pastimes, likes and dislikes, only by bhakti. Only in devotional service can these person, Krishna, can be revealed in the heart of a devotee. Otherwise, it is always with awe and reverence. We don't know him personally. So when you know him personally, then there's a relationship, reciprocation. So that is possible when you A, know about Krishna, and second, only by bhakti, when you're performing bhakti with the knowledge. Now, question arises. Yes, we've got the link. But there is a very, very important link on who can understand Krishna in his personal form through knowledge. Not everybody can do so. For that, there is one step to be taken. That one process, the missing link is there, which is mentioned way ahead in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 4, verse number 3. Where Krishna is saying, Sa evayam maya tedya yogaha proktaha purantanaha bhakto sime sakha cheti rahasyam hi etad uttamam. Again. Sa evayam maya tedya yogaha proktaha purantanaha bhakto sime sakha cheti rahasyam hi etad uttamam. Here it is. That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you, means by Krishna to Arjuna, because, here is the answer given, because Krishna is saying, you are my devotee as well as my friend, and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. Here is the answer given. This is the missing link. That like Arjuna, all the devotees should become Krishna's devotee and friend, intimate friend. Intimate friend meaning what? You go and tell your friend, what happened? This happened. Help me please. Not help me please. What do you want? I'll do it for you. You want me to wake up early in the morning? I'll do it. You want me to fast? I'll do it. What do you want me to do? That's it. Friendship, you don't expect to say, what will you do? Say, what do you want me to do? I'm all yours. You tell me. And it reciprocates. So, bhakto sime sakha cheti. When we become the devotee, and sakha means friend, rahasyam hi etad uttamam, then this supreme secret, rahasyam, mystery. He said, this mystery of loving God will be revealed to you. Rahasyam hi etad uttamam, transcendental. This supreme secret, the ancient science, will be revealed to us. So this is how I understood this particular verse, where the translation again is that he was seated in a straw mattress and speaking to all present, including the great sage Narad, whom he specifically spoke about the absolute truth. So we discussed and we saw how Lord Shiva, although the owner of and the proprietor of the great planet, which is as good as Golok Vrindavan, which is Mount Kailash, he himself chose to sit under a banyan tree, perform austerities along with other sages, sitting on a straw mattress, applying ashes on his body and his hair, with a half moon on his head. And although all this havoc been created by the demon he created to destroy and disturb the yajna performed by Daksha and all the demigods who were silently listening to all nonsense that was going on, we understood that great personality was still not disturbed. He was still friend of everyone, and because he was friend of everyone, he was called all auspicious, Shiva. That is given in verse number 35 of this chapter. That by virtue of his full affection to everyone, for everyone, he was very auspicious. Then we saw that that Srila Prabhupada explains that the discussion between Lord Shiva and that of Narad Muni was about absolute truth. And Prabhupada says absolute truth means Vedas, and Vedas means Bhakti. So we saw in Bhagavad Gita chapter 18 verse 54 that these are the discussions of the people. Bhakti, pure devotional service, starts when one is liberated, one is transcendental. Then we saw that one has to perform devotional service from the Vedas. He has to be known, Then we saw in chapter 15 how Krishna says that the absolute truth means Vedas. Vedas is me only, that is Krishna only. From all the Vedas, he has to be known. Then we saw, okay, so from Vedas he has to be known, but how does that mean? What does that mean? That is devotional service. That is mentioned by Krishna, that only by devotional service you can understand me. In 1855. And then we saw the final missing link, final linking process rather, of how one can perform the devotional service by becoming an intimate friend of Krishna and a devotee. Bhakto sime sakha cheti. Then rahasyam hi etad uttamam would be revealed, this great science, to our heart. Hare Krishna. This is how I understood from this verse. Would like to say anything? Sure.
What happens to the Gyanis?
Gyanis, philosophers. Yes, it is said that Gyanis or philosophers, they being frustrated, they end up accepting God as impersonal. Impersonal. One of our devotees from our program, Weekend, Hare Krishna Weekend, we are participating in inter-religious discussions every month. So earlier I used to go, and then I became busy, so one of our devotees in our team, one of the counselors is going, Shital Prabhu. So at that point in time, in that inter-religious discussion, they also brought in philosopher from the Philosophical Society of New Zealand. So this point clearly came out when Prabhupada says that Gyanis, they think about merging with the absolute truth. It came out very clearly. It's very difficult for them to accept that everything comes from one person, because they see all this unfathomable universe. It's so hard to digest. It comes from just one personality. Because they do not have any conception of a person, they are not friend, they are not devotees. They're very intrigued, but this is the position of Gyanis. And generally they are very frustrated, because they keep on thinking, and by thinking you cannot understand Krishna.
Is Kailash an interior too?
Kailash?
Is it in the Himalayas?
Good point. Good question. Kailash is between the material world and spiritual world, Vaikuntha. You see, there are three forms of Lord Shiva. This is a very confidential information. This is given in the final chapters of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antalila. First form, the original form, is that of Lord Shiva being a Vishnu Tattva. He's not a Shiva Tattva, he's a Vishnu Tattva himself. This particular form is found only in Vaikuntha.
So that
Okay?
around his neck must be Ananta Shiva.
Yeah, that's right. So then the second, like Krishna has got his three Purusha avatars, Kanadaksaya Vishnu, Mahavishnu, Garbhodaksaya Vishnu, and Kshirodaksaya Vishnu. From Kshirodaksaya Vishnu, all the incarnations take place. He's a Paramatma. Similarly, Lord Shiva in Vaikuntha is Vishnu Tattva. Then he has an expansion of Shankar or Shambhu, which resides in Kailash. Okay? This particular Kailash is that abode where it is not destroyed during annihilation. And that's where Shiva Tattva begins. Not Vishnu Tattva, Shiva Tattva begins. Okay? 84% of...
To a lesser extent.
Yes. Now from there, The current expansion, what we understand as Shiva comes, which resides in, crematoriums and all that. So that is a Shiva which we understand. The people get under. I very much was confusing to say that Shiva resides. He says his place of abode is Smashan, is crematorium. Then how come he has got his abode in Kailash? So this is my research brought me to this point.
So Himalayas resides in the Himalayas too.
Kailash, it is mentioned, yeah, Kailash. So the Mansarovar is a material representation. Yeah, that may be the case there, yeah. Yeah. Okay? Thank you. Jai. Granthraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is ki Jai. Shishananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Chandra Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.